Hi, I'm Kevin Toms, and I'm a developer advocate for Bitrise. If you're a mobile developer, you probably can see that there are advantages in having a continuous integration and continuous deployment system for your app, but you don't have the time to set it all up. Well, Bitrise helps a great deal here because it does a lot of this automatically for you and sets it up in the cloud. The following video walkthrough will show you that process and show you how easy and quick it is. Once you've got your Bitrise CI/CD system set up in the cloud, for your app, you can start to take advantage of additional capabilities. For example, you can add monitoring, automatic deployment, and generating test reports. On from there, you'll be able to access some of the more than 300 Bitrise integrations that we provide that connect to other systems and provide a bunch of additional functionality. But out of the box, you will have, in a very short time, your own continuous integration and deployment system for your app set up in the cloud. Okay, this is a recording of the startup of using Bitrise for a new app. So the first thing you need to do is add your app to Bitrise. So we're already logged in on Bitrise here and looking at our dashboard, and we click on Add New App. And we add new app on the web UI. Bitrise now picks up my account. I'm going to choose a private app and then click Next. Now I've got a GitHub account already connected to Bitrise here, and the app I want to build is a test app I've created called Private One there. Now one of the things it will need to do is to connect to the repository in order to clone it and work within Bitrise, and for that it needs to set up an SSH key, and Bitrise will do that automatically for you. Having done that, repository access is granted using the SSH key. Next thing you need to do is choose which branch you're going to be using in this build process. So in this case, we'll be using the main branch. Now what Bitrise will do here is investigate the code on that branch to decide what type of project this is. And it accepts a wide range of project types, different programming languages and cross-platform tools. And it will introspect the code in the repository to work out which one it is. As it says, it can take a few minutes. But in this case, it's pretty quickly worked out that it's an Android app, which is correct. Now it sets up some default configurations, and we're going to use the app module, and we're not going to choose a specific variant. So we're taking all the defaults. Having done that, we can confirm that we're happy with the project configuration. It's going to run Android and Docker on an Ubuntu 16.04 system. We'll confirm that. It's just saving that project configuration now. Now we can choose an icon for our app. There's a couple of default icons provided, so you can use those, or you can load your own custom image to be used as the icon in this build. In this case, we'll choose the icon that Bitrise has selected for us and proceed. The next thing is to set up what triggers the build. The build is operating in the cloud, and it will be triggered via a webhook, which we can register here. And in this case, it will register a webhook that depends on a push of code to the repository. There are other options, for example, pull requests or responding to tags, or even having a scheduled time for a build. But in this case, we want an event. We want the webhook of the push to the repository to be triggered. So now the build is actually kicked off. We can go and look at that, so we'll just tap on that now. So now we're actually in the process of running a build in the cloud, and Bitrise is reporting an activity here. It's done the SSH key, and it's done the git clone, and it's carrying on from there. While that is running, we can go into the dashboard a bit and look at other things.
So this is for our app that we have created, Android app private 1. And what is it it's running? Well, it's actually running a workflow. And the workflow is designed and visible in this UI here. I can run through the steps to give you an idea of what it's actually doing. This is the default primary workflow. And the primary workflow has this sequence of steps you see on the left-hand side here. And first step is to activate the SSH key. That's to give it access to the repository. And then it will clone the repository. All of this runs on a virtual machine in the cloud. And there's a cache pool here. This is caching that's set up because when you repeat your builds, some things we will repeat the same each time. And it obviously saves time if there's caching of that data. It doesn't apply to your private data, more general things like code dependencies. And then there's a do anything with a script step, and that actually is placed there as a default, but it's not really needed. Often people forget to take it out, but it's fairly harmless. It's an example, and it does echoes hello world to the console. Install the missing Android SDK components. It's an Android app, so it's setting up the components. Does an Android lint, examines the code, runs your unit tests, and then deploys to Bitrise IO, which in this case will mainly deploy your test results to Bitrise IO. And then finally, it does a cache push. So it for the stuff that's going to be like the directories that are going to be similar on each build, it will cache them. And as I said, that's not private or private information. It's more general, repeatable information. There is actually a second workflow here. So if you take a drop down here, there's a deploy workflow. And one of the things you've got is with the primary workflow is continuous integration, which is continuously updating, running your build and tests as code changes come in. So to catch failures there, to keep the code correct. But you can also have a deploy workflow here, which is a second workflow that's provided. And you'll see it's very similar to the original primary workflow, but it adds a couple of extra things. It does version setting from your code, and it also does the build and will sign the build and deploy to Bitrise IO. So if you have set up the signing, which you need to do for this, set up the keys, then Bitrise can actually do a deploy to Bitrise IO and provide you with a app at a URL which you can then supply to your testers to download and run. A couple of other things on the menus. As I said, code signing is there. Secrets allows you to have secret information that's not visible in any of the builds or the YAML for things that you need to keep secret, of course. And the environment variables, well, there's plenty of them used. It's how Bitrise connects things together with environment variables. Triggers, as I said, there's a range of triggers. You can trigger on a push, a pull request, or even a tag. The stack is just what it's running on, in this case, Android Docker on Ubuntu 16.04 in the cloud. And the Bitrise steps are all provided also as YAML. So we saw the UI visual version, but YAML is also created, which you can download and examine and keep as well. So if we go back to the app at this point, we've got a build that succeeded. So that's the completed build. If we look at that, I'll just note here that there's 3 of the free add-ons that we supply at Bitrise here. And Trace is a monitoring capability for mobile, fairly easy to integrate into your app. Will monitor the performance of the app, the crashes, and various other useful information about how the app is actually acting in the hands of the users. Ship is a tool to manage continuous deployment of your app. And test reports, they are a way to see all of your test reports in one place. Now, if we look here, we can see the output of the build. We can see the steps here, including here there's a summary. This is just the end of the build. You can actually, just by tapping here, see the entire log of the build. So starting from the SSH key, the git clone, and so on. Another thing that is there is, as I say, the test reports. I'll just click on that. We should be able to see the test reports from this app. Yes, there we are. We can see the various tests that are run. This is a demonstration app, so the tests are fairly limited. But this test reports function will collect up various test reports that you create that are output in different steps in Bitrise, and they will collect them in one place. Now, if we look at integrations while we're at it, when I showed you the workflow was actually running through a series of steps where we have over 300 steps, and they cover a range of capabilities. And they're one of the things that once you've got Bitrise running, it allows you to expand what you're doing with your Bitrise cloud builds, your CI/CD. And there are covering a range of needs. So this is where Bitrise will integrate to your systems and provide you other functionality as well. So we've got them in different groups here. Access control here, artifact info. You can get various info there. As you see, we support Xcode, so it's iOS as well. Build information here, covering a range of different types of build, including Flutter. Code signing, how we manage the code signing that you need to do for different things. Dependencies, lots of dependencies covered for different needs. Deployment, we've got deployment to the Huawei app gallery here. Installer, various installations as required. Notifications that I'm just onto here. Even such things as, well, certainly useful notifications in a number of ways. Sending a Discord message, sending chat messages, even updating the color of a LifeX light to tell you what's happening with your build. As you can see, send Slack messages, Teams messages, a range of capabilities. They're very useful to get feedback or to give feedback to other people on what's happening with the builds and the reliability of the builds. And testing as well, a bunch of test tools are available, and code quality tools are also available. And finally, utilities, a range of utilities for a lot of different purposes there. And you can do many things basically with Bitrise. That's one I was looking for. Create and install page QR code, so you can supply QR code to testers to install the app easily. So that's some of the range of capabilities of Bitrise. As I say, it's a continuous integration system in the cloud and continuous deployment system. You set it up really easily, as I showed you, and then on from there, you can add a lot more capability to it.